the Emo Hour. Your weekly power hour of all things emo and adjacent. With your hosts, Katie and Nani.
Hello and welcome to the Emo Hour. It's your host, Nani, and my good friend, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Nani. How are you?
I am doing pretty dang good. Can't believe it. Another week. Here we are. It feels like it flew by, but we had a very busy week, so it kind of makes sense.
We did. So maybe let's just get into it because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot to talk about since our last episode that's so emo related.
So emo. Well, then I should ask you the question, what's making you emo this week, Katie?
Okay. Well, you already know.
I do.
What it is. It is very exciting. It is one of the intentions or manifestations or New Year's resolutions or whatever that I made for myself that we talked about at our first episode of the year.
Yep.
And that is that you and I, what?
It's a drum roll.
Drum roll. You and I have both had the opportunity and met Mr. Mark Hoppus and Sir Tom DeLonge of Blink-182, which is incredible. And we'll go through it play by play, but that's the summary of it. You've already met Tom before, so you're familiar with him, but I never have, and you had never met Mark, and we both met Mark.
Right. And as I was thinking about it, so yeah, you're right. I've met Tom quite a few times now, just through I don't know, weird coincidences. But Mark, I had actually forgotten that I think I had talked to him once.
Oh, you're right.
At the
last
pool.
Year.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. But otherwise, no. I mean, Mark and I have never really had any real communication between the two of us that lasted any amount of time that was substantial and actually talking about stuff. So I can't wait for you to give the play-by-play because I was there to witness all of it, and it was one of the most joyous things I've ever experienced in our friendship.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Oh my God, it's just so good. So I can't wait to hear this story.
Well, and you'll have to give your little recap of the first interaction after I'm done. But I forgot that you saw Mark at the pool last year. So I guess it wasn't your first meeting of either of them, but it was mine for both of them. So first off, we'll start with our random run-in with Mark Hoppus. So you and I and our good friend LB were hiking out at Chocolate Gulch, which is just north of town here in Sun Valley. Beautiful Sun Valley. And we had 3 dogs with us, and I had my daughter, Reagan, in a pack on my back as well. It was a beautiful spring day, wildflowers are popping, all the things. And I was at the back of the line for us 3. And we're going up a pretty steep part of the hill, I would say. And, I've got an extra 30 pounds on my back. So I'm sweating and, yeah, I'm working hard. And I start hearing this woman's voice, and I have a hat on too. That's an important part of this story. In my mind, I have a hat and sunglasses on, but I'm we're going uphill. So I'm looking down at the trail, and I hear this woman's voice say something along the lines of oh my gosh, you have a child on your back. That must double your weight. You're brave. And I know she said the word brave, and I look up and I said something. I don't even know what I said, but as I was speaking, I was is that Sky Hoppus? And I'm thinking to myself, but I'm looking at her thinking, I think that's Sky, which is Mark's wife. And then I look up because my hat was blocking. So I look further. Well, wait, I'm going too fast. I also took notes so that we could really do the play-by-play. So I remember looking at her thinking, I think that's Sky Hoppus. And I did run into her last year. And then you, I think, did some gesture or made some noise or said Katie or something to kind of alert that something's happening. So then I looked up past my hat, up the hill, and there's Mark Hoppus just standing there. And I just said, oh my God.
Audibly out loud.
Audibly out loud while I'm staring at his face. Said, oh my God. And I think I said, I'm a big fan. I think he said, thank you. I think everything happened so fast. I'm not sure the order of some of these events. I think he introduced himself to LB maybe as like, hi, I'm Mark Hoppus. I swear I heard him say his entire name.
Uh-huh.
And you then said, I know your manager. And then Sky started talking about how their manager is about to like welcome a baby into the world. And you said something like you guys had a few words about that. And then I told Sky that I met her last year at the grocery store. And I said, and I just word vomited. And I said the word vomit, which is really great for me. And she just kind of had this physical reaction of like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that's cool. And then I looked up at Mark and I was just like, Reagan, that's Mark. And he said, hi, Reagan. And I think we just like, this was all happening kind of as we're slowly like passing by each other on the trail, you know, because we're headed opposite directions. And then we had passed them and I said, it's a beautiful time of year for you guys to be here. And that was it. So, I mean, that's my play-by-play, but I'm curious what your recollection is.
Yeah, it's not too far off. This is just so enjoyable for me to rehear. Oh my God, I love this so much. Okay, so mine's definitely quicker, but mine would be that we were walking up that super steep section and there was a couple that was walking down and I couldn't tell who or what it was. I saw the woman. I don't recognize her because I don't follow her on Instagram or anything like that, which is why you recognize her because you follow.
She has
them.
A following on Instagram for sure.
Yeah. So I don't recognize her, but I noticed that she has a cute outfit on because it's like all in black. And then I look up a little further and I see painted fingernails. And I saw the painted fingernails. I'm like, that's so cool. And I look up and I'm like, oh, it's Mark. I'm like, oh shit, Katie. And that's probably when I might have said something to you. Yeah. And LB was the one that started talking. I don't think she knew who she was talking to.
No.
And then once I realized it, like I started to say something, then you audibly were like, oh my God. And I had a little bit of an internal, like, I'm so glad I didn't burst out in any sort of way because it just was so epic. And then I remember saying something like, how random is this that we're running into each other on this? Because there's like a lot of different ways that you can go on Chocolate Gulch and there's a lot of directions. And we purposely took one direction. And so like there's a lot of stars that randomly had to line up for this interaction because we crossed maybe 3 people on that entire hike, the 2 of them being one of them. And then I said to him something like, oh yeah, like I'm buddies with your manager. And then that's when that comment about them welcoming a baby into the world soon. And I think I said like something like, oh yeah, my name's Nani. Like, great to meet you. Like, hope to see you guys around town. And then we continued walking. And I think you asked me something like, oh my God, was that like so exciting? I was like, I don't really care. Like, there's other people or something like that. And, but I was so excited that like, I personally think I have more excitement around Tom than Mark. But it's not a comparison game. Like, for me, it's not even, like, I'd be more excited to see John Mayer.
Sure, yeah.
Which, right? Like, your Blink is probably my John Mayer, which is so embarrassing to say out loud, but it's...
No.
So,
no, it's all great, is what I was saying.
Yeah, and that's, and then I remember her mentioning Reagan on your back and then being totally, like, wooed by your baby because your baby is just, like, the definition of beauty. And then they're like, hey, and they made reference to the extra weight on your back and how you're a badass for hiking with a kid on your back. And then we went on our way. And so that's you recalled it really well. I wasn't sure if you were gonna like black out and not remember any of it because sometimes in those really exciting situations, like you lose all sense of anything.
Well, it was just like true, genuine shock. I mean, and that was a moment for me. That's why I was like, the hat is an important part because we're going uphill. I'm looking down at the trail because that's what you do generally when you're hiking. You know, you got to watch where you're going.
Yep.
And so I just like, slowly, like, my head lifted and I looked at Sky, and then I'm just like having this internal monologue of, is that Sky? And then I lift my head again and I see him. Like, it was a freaking moment of shock. And like, we know that they come here, that they have a place here, that they visit here. But that's just not a moment that you expect to happen, especially with such a big fan.
Yeah, and especially like on a random trail going opposite directions. It, like, again, serendipity. That was truly serendipity right there. So
yeah.
yeah.
And I don't think I introduced myself.
No.
You did. But I introduced my daughter.
Yeah, yeah. They date. Reagan is a star.
Yeah. And then,
yeah, that leads us in very, very nicely into the next coincidence.
so then, a mere like 3 days later, you and I are going out to grab a drink and an appetizer at a local restaurant called the Covey. So we walk in the door, and right in front of us immediately is Mark and Tom sitting across from each other with their wives and with another couple who I'm unfamiliar with. But right there at the entrance, it was just, again, like another kind of shocking, jarring moment. But they're seated. We didn't bother them.
Honestly, I didn't even see them.
Oh, really? I saw them immediately. And
because I was talking to some other people that we knew, because as we were walking in, we ran into like some extended friends of mine and was catching up with them about stuff. We walk in and then we get sat at the bar because I'll be even more specific. They have a new tiki cocktail like bar menu that I was so excited to try. And like Katie said, we went to go get a drink and a nap as we were waiting for our table to get ready at another restaurant nearby. And we sat down, and like that's after we sat down is I think kind of when I realized all of it, because I like didn't really see him.
Yeah. And it was a pretty busy evening that night, and we were sat like across the restaurant from them, so we weren't close to them. But then when we were getting up to leave to go grab dinner at the other place, you found an opportunity to say hello since you and Tom have met multiple times, which gave me the opportunity to also say hello, which thank you for that. I know I said it that night, but again, thank you for taking that opportunity as, we were both standing there.
I was not going to miss that opportunity for you, period. Like when in your life are you ever going to have the two of us and the two of them in the same room at the same time? And it was just perfect. It was perfect because I was like, shoot, like I can easily say hello to both of them. More specifically, Tom, just because I've gotten to know him decently okay. And like this has been the thing that you have that you set your intention for the year. So it's like we're not missing this.
Well, I'm still hopeful that, that they are here often. So I'm still hopeful that we'll run into them again. But basically it was like, hi, Tom. And then Mark remembered you and remembered your name, right? Said like Nani, right?
I was like, what the hell? Like that.
Yeah.
What a steel trap of a brain he has. That's wild.
Yeah. And then I interjected and I again was like, big fan. I love you guys. And maybe you said we ran into you the other day on the trail. I think you said that.
And that's when my wife chimed in and was like, oh my God, yeah, it's great to see you guys.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I was super awkward. And then Tom chimed in and said, have you met Mark? Everything he does is awkward or something like that.
Exactly, which I had to tell you later because I don't know that you like realized that in the moment. He was so like what I appreciate about that specific comment is that you are visibly like obviously very excited to see both of them and to meet both of them. And like he took that opportunity to slide something in there to make you feel less weird about meeting like some of your favorite humans. At least that's the way that I took it. I was like, hell yeah, that's a homie right there. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. But I said it to Mark, so no, I didn't really clock that Tom had said that. But Mark was like, no, not at all. He reacted like that. And then I think he said, he's like, yeah, talking to Tom, we saw her the other day hiking up this steep part of the trail with a child on her back. And I was like, okay, so he he knows what we're talking about.
Exactly.
And then I think I just said like big fan. I love you guys. Which, that's true, but that's a strong thing to say. And
It's
you
true,
chatted
though.
you chatted a little bit more, and we just kind of said, said goodbye. And it was great.
I felt like it was the perfect level of interaction considering like all the things at play, because we were in a busy restaurant. We were on our way out, and it was like, I don't know, I felt like it was perfect in the sense that the interaction between everybody. Mark remembered both you and I. I still cannot believe that he remembered my name. The man's met thousands and thousands of humans. And
I did introduce myself that time.
Yes,
I specifically was like, I'm Katie, which I did not do the first time.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad
I
you
remembered
did.
to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. And then yeah, we just said like, great to see you guys. Hope to see you around town. And we continued on our way. And the cool thing is now we weren't there like a crazy long amount of time. We were there maybe like 45 minutes waiting for our table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's very awesome that they can be in a town like where we are, and people, one, don't know who they are, period. Like, there's so many people who just don't know who they are. But also, if you do know who they are, chances of somebody bothering you are pretty low, because we're just really respectful around here. We have a weird melting pot of humans in this town that we've talked about on the podcast before. And I think it's a really special place for people to come to if they have a little bit of fame, because people just don't care quite as much, I think, as in maybe major cities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, celebrities tend to like it here, is because they're not bothered as much. Obviously, we bothered them, but
but not really, though. Like, I was saying hi to a friend, and we ran into him on a trail. Like, we bothered them in the sense that I bothered other people as we were walking out of the restaurant to say hi bye, like it was friendly territory.
It totally was. And I mean, like, I would love to get a photo with them, for example, but I'm not trying to. What?
I didn't even think about that. That's the next goal.
Well, yeah, it's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to ask them I don't want to bother them to that level. And I think that goes to what you were saying about people try to be extra respectful. So I would, that's my next goal. You're right. That's the next opportunity that I'm looking for.
We can make that happen.
Because I don't want to make them like stand up from their dinner to take a picture with me. Like, I'm not going to do that. And then on the trail, it just was so shocking and sudden. And I don't, that was just a lot. And it would have felt weird to do that too then.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even have my phone on me on that hike. So yeah, well, I'm so happy that this is what's making you email this week. I had a feeling that this is what you were going to choose, just because it was just such a big run-in, and it's something that you've been wanting, that you've kind of put into the world, and for it to happen back to back coincidentally is just truly so weird, like so weird, so weird. It's so weird. So I love it. It gives you faith in humanity, gives you faith in sending out good energy and good intentions for your year. So let's hope that we can conquer all of our intentions for the year, right?
Yes, agreed. But anyway, that took up a lot of time, but it's a fun story.
Yeah.
So what's making you emo this week, Nani?
Oh gosh. Well, so mine's, I guess it's not quite as long, but it does have a little bit of a story. And that is, there's this band called Pool House from the Salt Lake City area in Utah. And if you listen to the podcast, you probably realize that I love TikTok, and I go down like TikTok spirals late at night before I go to bed, which is maybe one of the dumbest and like worst habits that I could have.
It's not great.
Alas, here I am, and I'm still thriving and living, but like I do need to cut that out of my life. But all that to say, it's not all bad news, TikTok. So I'm laying in bed scrolling through, I land on this thing, and it's this woman named Rachel. And Rachel is talking about this song that she just found and how excited she is about this song, and how she wants to rearrange it because she thinks that the arrangement of the original song is excellent, but like it could be made even better. And I was like, curious. That's a pretty bold statement to make, but I want to hear what she has to say. Anyway, so the song starts playing, and I'm like, this is a bop. Like, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
And then she does this rearrangement in the video, and I'm like, okay, like I can see what she's talking about. She's giving it more of like a classic pop
Structure.
yes, like song structure that I think that's good, but I also think the old like the original version has just as much validity, if not more. Because it's more of a pop punk type song. Anyways, the band is called Pool House, and the song is called, oh my gosh, Could Be Love, which, if I have any qualms, it's that the name of the song should be a different name.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to think of. Sometimes when you have a really poppy, like catchy song, you should just name it the most recognizable lyric.
Right.
Like I wish the song was just called Loser
Yeah.
or something like that. But it's this amazing song. Anyways, this song, when I found it, or this video with Rachel, when I found it, it was already on its way of going, like, it was bubbling up and starting to go a little viral. Anyways, it went completely viral.
Yeah.
The song has gotten so much love. They've gotten love from Spotify. They've gotten all sorts of exciting things. And it's this really amazing, like, exciting moment in this band's trajectory, and I think that they really could launch themselves from this point forward into doing some really cool stuff. Anyway, so this Rachel gal, she does this rearrangement. The band's like, maybe we should actually do Rachel's version. So they do Rachel's version. They fly her out to Salt Lake City. She goes there. They do all of these videos. They re-record a version that's called Rachel's versions. That it's now available on Spotify. It's literally just Pool House, Could Be Love, Rachel's version that you can listen to. And I love both versions of the song. I think I prefer the original version. Well, I prefer a version that's actually in between the two of them. I think the Rachel's version's really good in the way that it progresses towards the end of the song and it gets a little chaotic at the end. But I like the original song structure. Anyways, I'm rambling a little bit, but all this to say, this song is so damn good. I want to see this band do so well. I think Rachel is going to have a moment of her, like, for herself too, because she obviously has a knack for production, music production, and has some really strong opinions on how songs like could be structured to make the most, or like the most commercially viable, successful version of a song. And I don't think that, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. Like, it just depends on what you're looking for. And I think that she could be a huge service to a lot of musicians, and I hope that this opportunity on TikTok parlays into a ton more opportunity for her. So it was just this beautiful, if we want to talk about serendipity, meet cutes, like of you and Mark and me on the trail, like this is the online version of it, where two really great individual, like, humans cross points on the internet and they make something magical and people latch onto it because it's genuinely good, but it's also just a great song. So yeah.
No, it's cool to see people come together and like do cool things, you know, perfect strangers on the internet.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome. And one thing you didn't say is one of Rachel's comments about that song is she said she felt like it's the new Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus.
Yes.
And then Wheatus got on the train and commented basically that they liked the original structure better.
That's right.
You know, no disrespect or anything, but they just said, like, we like the original structure better, but we like things that are kind of unusual, and that's why they liked it.
Yeah, I know that they don't need to, like, keep revisiting this, but if they were to take the original structure of the song and add on, because it's really only like a two-ish minute long song. It's a short, quick song that leaves you wanting more. If they were to take that original structure and kind of add on the back end of the song, what they did with Rachel's version, it would just be money, in my opinion. But, like, also, who are we to, like, keep judging people's artwork, right? Both versions are beautiful. I just want more. I'm excited to see what this band does. Yeah. We need to have them on the podcast, actually, is what we need to do.
Yeah. We'll reach out to them. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this has been a very long intro, though, and I feel like we need to get into the topic of the day.
We do, which I'm already talking about Salt Lake City, so we might as well just dive right into our topic at hand, which is we went to go see Brand New.
We went to go see Brand New in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
So where to begin? So Brand New's on their like reunion tour. We'll do the disclaimer Jesse Lacey was accused of, and he kind of came out in 2017 and admitted some wrongdoing and then kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for a while. He's the lead singer of Brand New. And we haven't heard a word from them until earlier this year, which maybe last year, actually. I think it was the end of last year. Some secret shows and like private shows started popping up, and you had some people that went to at least one of them. And it was just like, what's happening? Is there going to be new music? Are they going on tour?
Right.
And they're on tour. So we went to, I think, the 5th stop in Salt Lake, and it was
just to bring it back just a smidge, for those who don't know Brand New, they're like one of the OG emo bands of our teenage years, of our growing up, of our time. They are highly respected and like have some of the best albums that came out of that decade of music, I would say. Yeah. So it's really weird to talk about them, and in the sense like what you mentioned, just the little bit of weirdness that like we talk about them with deep respect, also knowing that there's an asterisk in the corner of some of the stuff that went on with Jesse the singer.
Right. And Jesse was originally a member of Taking Back Sunday. Actually, they're both Long Island bands, and they have kind of a historic beef.
Right.
That really is no longer a beef, but it was a beef, you know. But we might have to do an episode about that sometimes, because like, what came out of that is pretty entertaining. And I think for the band members that were involved, like they didn't really care that much, but they kind of played into it, you know.
It was like internet drama before internet drama was a thing.
Yes, exactly. So technically they played in West Valley City at the Maverick Center, so just outside of Salt Lake, and it's just Brand New. They don't have any openers. It's just them. It's a set that's over 2 hours long, and it was incredible. I mean, you can, give your 2 cents, of course, but they have 5 albums, and 3 of them I know very well. 2 of them I don't know as well. So the first 45 minutes of the show, I was just on cloud 9. Like, it was just like banger after banger after banger, that I just was like, knew every single word. I was obsessed. Then there was a little bit of a lull for me, because it was some songs off the 2 newer albums that I just don't know as well. Some I do, some I don't. But it was still just an incredible show through and through. They did play, I kept saying to some guys that were behind us and to you, if we're lucky, they'll play Mixtape. Mixtape is one of their songs on their debut album, Your Favorite Weapon. And the set list, I had been looking at the set list to see what they were playing. And the first couple shows, they didn't play any songs off of Your Favorite Weapon. But then they incorporated Mixtape. So I was like, if we're lucky, we're going to get it. And then they started playing it. And I think I grabbed you and I was like, we're lucky.
It was so fun being there with you, because you had so much excitement about them. It was awesome. It was awesome.
But that was the only song they played off of their debut album, which is it's an interesting choice. But maybe it's just so old and they wanted to try to highlight some of their newer stuff more, Yeah.
Well, it's also like you only have a couple hours, but you've got so many hours of music, right? Like each record is probably a couple hours. You'd multiply that by 5. It's like, how do you pare it down?
Yeah, exactly. So even the songs, like Science Fiction is their album I know the least. They played quite a few songs off of their Science Fiction album. Even though I didn't really know them, it was just a great show. And it was like mesmerizing to me, just like the production and how good they sounded. It sounded so good, and it didn't sound too loud, which is something that happens so often at any kind of like a rock show, is it can sound so loud and like not good because it's so loud, but it sounded awesome. We made some friends kind of with some people behind us. Everybody was like just super stoked to be there. One thing that was a bummer about Salt Lake is that it was not sold out. There was still a good crowd of people, of course, but I think the energy level could have been even better if it was sold out. But there were moments during the show where you could just hear the entire crowd singing every single word. Yeah, something you should talk about this more, but the production value started out pretty low for the first 15, 20 minutes, and then they really amped it up. And I want you to talk about that. I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are about what why did they make that decision, if you have any?
Yeah. Well, so my whole take on the show was like we knew that I wasn't like that big of a fan. I obviously know who Brand New is because like you can't listen to this type of music and not know who Brand New is. Like that's how big they are. I know a handful of songs from them, but not that many. And so really I was going down to go with you and just experience it cuz why not? Like sounds like a fun time. Um and so so I didn't really know what to expect. I'm going to be honest and say that I was kind of planning on not really enjoying myself and more so enjoying watching you enjoy yourself. Like, it's fun to be around somebody who is just genuinely so excited to see a band that they've loved for years, decades at this point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, hell yeah, I'm along for the ride. Let's go have fun in Salt Lake. So we get to the show. I was super stoked that they didn't have an opener. I think that's really awesome that they just went straight into it. I think a lot of people were very surprised and people got there late thinking that they were going to be on time and they
Yeah.
weren't on time. They missed like some of the best parts of the show.
Yeah.
But the production I thought was very interesting because when it started, I looked at you and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? This is that we're in an arena, a small arena, albeit, but like we're in an arena. There should be more going on. And so essentially what it looked like is like, I want to say it was like 3 separate LED screens behind them. And they were maybe 3 times the height of each human that was in front of them. So like think 20-foot, 25-foot high LED screens. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. That's good, whatever. But each of them was lined out. And I thought that the ceilings are so high in these arenas that I was like, I see what they're doing. They're maybe choosing to go a little like less on production just because they're going into these rooms and it's expensive and blah 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 blah. But like it's fine, whatever. I just was expecting a little bit more. And the whole set, the lighting was very broody and dark and like at no point were there spotlights on any of them except for when they broke in between like twice and said a very few short amount of words to the crowd. Like this show was all about the music. It was not about anything else but playing the music, which I respect and I think was the right move for them too, just kind of coming back into the world as a band. But then I was so proven wrong because I said to you, I was like, this production is less than stellar, Katie. I'm like, I'm surprised that they don't have that much. And then about, like you said, maybe 20-ish, 30 minutes into the set, something happened to the background behind them where it revealed that there was more. And then it revealed that there was more. And then there was more. And eventually it got to the point where it looked like the top part of a cross almost, where you had it horizontally, the width of the stage at probably about 25, 30 feet high. But then there was a centerpiece that shot all the way up. And that piece was probably closer to like 100, 120 feet high, I would say, maybe more than that. And the way that they used that screen specifically behind them was so interesting because at one point it almost looked like a lava lamp. And in these like the structure that was holding up the LED screens, they had a bunch of like moving lights that they like. There's this one. I wish I could remember the name of all of these, but like there's one lighting system where it looks like a snake. So like the way that the pattern of the lights, it creates the snake-like pattern, and then there were so many lights. They had these movers that have like 5 million different options. So like one light can make it look like there's 100 coming out of them, or it can make it look like there's 1 or 3 or whatever the setting is. So I am so proven wrong. Like I was at first like, what in the hell? And they did it the way that it should be done, in the sense it's like you don't want to blow your audience away at the beginning. You want to build it and then have like this momentous point of the show like later into the show. So I thought it was awesome. I also thought his vocals were insane. I thought that the entire band was so tight. Jesse's voice was amazing. So were the backing vocals. They had double drums at a certain throughout the show at certain points, which they just sounded so good.
They did.
The one thing too I thought was like Jesse was wearing a hoodie and jeans the whole time. It kind of felt like we were watching band practice in a way. It just felt like
Okay.
intimate in that way. It was it just felt like the whole thing felt very appropriate and very authentic and about the music. And the other thing that I think we need to mention is that there were generations there. There were dads with their daughters. There were like moms with their sons.
Oh yeah.
And it was so cool because modern day kids listening like to emo music that they can bond with their 40-something-year-old parent. That's so cool. Like I just love that. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool. So that was my take on it. And the other thing that I was just going to say is I was blown away. I truly did not think I was going to enjoy as much as I did. I think I'm definitely a bigger fan of Brand New now than I was going into the show because sonically, I should also shout out the sound and light, like the tech crew behind everything. They mixed that room so perfectly.
Yeah.
It sounded unreal. Like,
Yeah.
they did such a great job. Everything was
did.
so good.
No, it felt very, I think you used the word tight. It felt very polished.
Yes.
It felt just like very well done and very practiced, which
Yes.
I think is maybe kind of strange because it was only the fifth stop on the show, you know? But it was a show, and that's what it was. Yeah, I'm glad that you pointed out they rarely like address the crowd specifically. There was a few words said. Nothing even that memorable, you know, just like thanks for having us or whatever type of a thing. But it felt like such a just like polished show, and they were there performing their art and they crushed it. And they played Jesus Christ, which is arguably one of the more well-known songs of theirs, second to last. And then they played a song called Batter Up, I think, which is also off Science Fiction. It might be off Daisy, but I think it's off Science Fiction as their closing song. And you and I haven't talked about this, but I have another friend I talked to yesterday who's maybe listening to this podcast. Dojo is what we call him. He went and saw them in Denver on Sunday, and he thought it was kind of lame that they closed with Batter Up. And I think that's just because it was a little anticlimactic, because it's a slower song, but I loved it. I thought it was a great ending to just I think it was a great ending to that
you
slow
said
melancholy song.
Is it like you said it was a long song. It's like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they played all 10 minutes. I don't remember, but it's a long song.
Well, to me what they did, so they don't come back on. Like when they're done. Lights go up, people leave. So there's no encore, traditional encore, which I also loved. They were there, in, out. We saw the show.
Oh, yeah.
Like you
the
gotta
lights
love
came
that.
on like immediately after the last guitar was done.
So
which was
good.
kind of a little jarring.
But to me, that was like the way that they lined this show up, like the flow of all the songs. I think it was perfect because, and I'm sure they're going to change it ever so slightly, but to me, playing Jesus Christ was like playing the last song of their set, and then that song that you were just referencing that's long, that was the encore. Like that's kind of, if you were to think about it in that sense, they didn't come back. Like they played their big hit that everybody knows and loves, and then they closed it out with like a long song that kind of left people like a little bit lower than, because like when you're all amped up and you just heard, it's like, man, I'm really bummed that I didn't hear another song. But when you ended on a lower, slower, more melancholy, to use your words, like song, it's kind of like, man, that was awesome, right? Like you're not all amped up still. You're not like amped up wanting more. Plus they played like what, two and some change hours? It was long.
Yeah. I think right around 2 hours and 15 minutes, I would say. And that song is, I was reading like some Reddit comments or something about that song, and somebody said, it feels like a long goodbye, like a good departure. And that's a great way to end a show.
Yes. I so agree.
Yeah, and they really paced it out really well. I mean, like I said, the first 45 minutes were like perfection for somebody like me who, you know, primarily knows the first 3 albums. And then they kind of transitioned into the newer stuff that I don't know as well. But that was a good time to just kind of like enjoy the show, even though I didn't necessarily know the songs that well. And then they kind of brought the energy level back up. Then they like did some acoustic stuff, like I thought it was just paced really well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, I just have to say thank you for being so adamant and excited to go seeing this show, because I wouldn't have seen it had you not been. And I'm so glad that I saw it, because it kind of reminded you why music is so good when it's not about like the flashiness of a lead singer, and it's not about the, the this and the that. It was truly about the music, and I loved that show. I loved it.
Well, thanks for going with me.
Yeah, I feel like we should also just quickly mention that like we were in Salt Lake City for a day and a half, and we really had the best time and made every second count, because we landed in traditional style, went immediately like straight into a comedy show where we saw one of the gals from SNL, Sarah Sherman, perform. One of the most chaotic, unhinged, amazing comedy sets I've ever seen in my entire life. And I think you probably agree, right?
Absolutely.
Unhinged.
It was wild.
Unhinged.
And she has a great stage presence, man. It was crazy.
She was amazing. And then we timed this out kind of perfectly, that we knew if we left like right after her set, because she had two shows, we went to the early show. We knew that if we left there and went to this amphitheater, we could go see another comedian, Matt Rife. And so we went directly from Sarah Sherman to Matt Rife, two very different environments. One was outdoor amphitheater, one was a small club. Two very different comedians, two like very, very different. But we go to Matt Rife, and we had please chime in wherever you feel like it. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but the weather was perfect. He was super funny as well. I think, if not that we need to compare the two, but for me, Sarah Sherman was better. I loved her. Also, Matt Rife had some crazy technical issues, and I kept talking about production at his show too, being like, oh my God, this guy's playing in front of like 13 to 15,000 people, and he's literally standing on concrete, and he has some like the fireworks in front of him and an LED screen behind him. So I pulled out my calculator on my phone, and I started like doing some math. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's making a killing right now. Like, do it, like seeing how much money he was making. Wild.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that his microphone, his headset microphone didn't work, and then they gave him a wireless handheld that didn't work, and then he switched over to a wired microphone. And you heard me right at the beginning of the show. I was like, the sound is shit. Like, this isn't good.
Yeah, and you noticed, you said that immediately when he had his headset on. And if you watch Matt Rife or see him on TikTok, you know that like a headset is his go-to. And I pointed that out when we were walking in for some reason. I was like, well, he'll definitely have his headset. And you pointed out that the sound was bad. And I didn't even really notice until he switched and the sound was so much better. I was like, oh yeah, you were right. That was not good sound.
Yeah. And we know how hard, we know how hard things can be. Like, we've had our own audio issues here, but like, we're two amateurs. Like, we've got professionals out there.
Yeah, and that's at a amphitheater where they have shows, presumably all the freaking time. Like, they should have that stuff pretty dialed in.
Yeah, it was just
I understand that stuff happens, but like you said, it took to the third mic before it was one that was working well, and it was a wired mic, which he did fine. I mean, that's what most stand-ups do, is have a handheld at least. Maybe it's not usually wired.
Yeah.
But that's just not his style. So that, I'm sure that kind of that was annoying for him. I'm sure, like you want things to work well, and to have to deal with that in front of a crowd of however many people, like, that's not a fun thing to have to do.
No. And he like jokingly was like, you're fired. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if he was actually like frustrated, like how bad that escalated afterwards. Or if he was like, stuff happens. I understand. Like, we got to do better next time.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it feels like he has an ego in general, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was more of that.
Okay, but not that we're playing the comparison game, but between the two comedians, which experience did you like better?
Oh, Sarah Sherman.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I also, like, I like Matt Rife enough, but I, generally speaking, think his comedy is a little low-hanging fruit. I think he kind of makes fun of people that are maybe easy to make fun of, and I just don't have a lot of respect for that in general. It wasn't so I went in kind of with a
I think we both did.
cautious mind. I don't know. That's not the right way to say it. But I'm certainly not like a massive Matt Rife fan, but I love a comedy show.
I love his crowd work. Like, I think you and I both, that's where we both were like, okay, if he does his crowd work, it's probably going to be really funny. And he did more of that than we were expecting. So that was enjoyable.
I was expecting, I kept saying to you, he's going to do like 2 to 5 minutes of crowd work at the end and that's it. And I was very wrong. And he did quite a bit. And that was enjoyable. But I mean, if you watch his Netflix special, it wasn't that great in my opinion. But then he did a crowd work Netflix special that was way better. Like, he crushes it with crowd work, but the stand-up part of it is hit or miss, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm so with you. I feel like that's kind of a general consensus. At least that's what I've noticed. People having a similar opinion about that. Yeah, I mean, it was just a beautiful night in Salt Lake City. We really made the most of our 36 hours down there. They were having their Pride Festival. It was like Salt Lake was alive. It was just, there was so much fun. And we sat by the pool all day. We made new friends. Shout out to our homies from Idaho Falls and Twin Falls.
I know that we tried to get to go to the brand new concert, but they did not go.
I know, they should have come.
But I just want to say more about Sarah Sherman because I didn't really know what to expect with her. Because, you know, I know her from SNL. She's like quirky, kooky, high energy, whatever.
Which is a mullet. She also has a mullet.
But a sketch show on network TV is going to be way different than a stand-up set, right? And like you said, it was truly unhinged. And she is just such a powerful stage presence. She's all over the place. She's like very physical in her comedy too, like the facial expressions that she was making, the noises she was making. Like, it was just, she was very engaging. It was wild and so entertaining to watch.
She also like has physical comedy like in her routine. So like she's her mannerisms are big and so like you can really visualize what she's talking about. And she also had obviously done her homework about Salt Lake City and probably does it around any city that she's going into so that she can plug in these different things to really like get the crowd excited. But it was like there are famous things in Salt Lake City that I think a lot of things that are obvious, right? Like Mormons are known for Salt Lake City. Fry sauce is something that's a very big deal in Salt Lake City. She's referencing like different regional areas. It was just so smart. It was so smart.
Yeah, it was great. If you have a chance to go see her, highly recommend.
10 out of 10.
Don't go with your dad.
Don't go with your family. And thank you, Katie, because we were in the pool the next day I was talking to a family that like had grown adult kids. I was like, oh my gosh, we saw this show last night. She has 4 shows here. She's going to be here tonight too. Like, you guys should absolutely go. And then maybe 45 minutes later, I'm telling you what I had told them. And you're like, did you tell them that it's like maybe not family friendly? And I said, no, why should I? You're like, yeah, do you think you would want to go to that show with your dad? I'm like, no, you're right. You're totally right. So I went back up to them. I said, by the way, maybe you guys shouldn't go together.
Yeah. And then I just said, I wouldn't want to go with my dad. There's a lot of female anatomy jokes.
Yes.
Like, to put it lightly.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Go see Sarah Sherman because she's also at the top of her game right now, right? Like, you're on SNL, you're a well-oiled machine, and now she's on tour doing her thing. I'm so glad we went.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great weekend. We definitely maximized it and got a little shopping in, got a little mani-pedi, got some pool time, got all the things.
We're just 2 friends living our best life is what we're doing.
Yeah, we did good.
Yeah.
So thank you for going with me. It was great. A lot of experiences were had, but I think now we can just get into email lyric of the day.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to go first? You want me to?
I'll go first. So I chose a brand new lyric, and I must say that I think brand new's lyrics are awesome in general. Like, I think that they could be interpreted so many different ways. I think that they are just really smart, really artful, really interesting lyrics, generally speaking.
Right.
So it's hard to choose a lyric, and the one I chose kind of like gives me like weird chills. So we'll see what it does for you. But it's from one of their songs called De Gosser, which is apparently I'm not going to explain this well, but I looked up like, what does that word mean?
Yeah.
And apparently it's a process of like erasing film from like old film. If you degauss it, it like erases it so you can reuse it. And the way that you do that has to do with like disconnecting magnets or something. Again, I'm not going to explain this well.
Oh, so maybe like back in the day when they used to film like stuff straight to actual film, they would get rid of it so that they could reuse the same film?
I think so, yeah. And they would use like some sort of magnet system that they called degaussing in order to do that. But it's kind of like erasing or like removing. And so I think if you look at that word just with that understanding, this is about like removing yourself from a relationship or like erasing a relationship or something like that. Like that's the take that I've had in my minimal research that I've done on this song.
Yeah, but you as a lawyer, minimal research is really good research. So there's that.
So, and I think yeah. So the lyric, it's from DeGosser. The lyric is, take me back to your bed. I love you so much that it hurts my head. I don't mind you under my skin. I'll let the bad parts in, the bad parts in.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's kind of like weird and creepy, but it very much is like, to me, it's somebody that's very in love, even though it's not good. You know, it's like a toxic relationship thing. And they're like acknowledging that it's not good, but that they're in it.
Yeah. I like the repetition of words. Can you read it one more time?
Take me back to your bed. I love you so much that it hurts my head. I don't mind you under my skin. I'll let the bad parts in, the bad parts in.
Yeah. Toxic. Right?
Yeah. So that's mine. Maybe yours is a little more upbeat than mine. We'll see.
I'm not going to lie. It's going to be hard for me not to choose myself as the winner.
That's fine.
Because I think we know how obsessed I am with this right now.
Is it Pool House?
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
It is Pool House.
I think I probably know what the lyric is too.
Yeah, I think you do, because it's just so like it's so forward in the song, but also the lyric is just so good. So the band is Pool House from their song Could Be Love or Could Be Love, Rachel's version, because both are it's said in both of them, but Rachel's version is the one that it actually starts with the chorus as the intro. So the lyric goes, "Thank God I'm a loser. I'll never have a chance, so I'll never have to lose her. Too bad she's a weirdo. My friends all know I'm really into weird, though."
Yeah. I mean, that's good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Can I read it
the
one
way
more
they
time?
sing it is great, too.
I know, right? Can I read it one more time, though?
Yes, please do.
I'm just so into it. And I think that really this just brings out all of my high school insecurity. It brings out like a time in my life maybe that I don't know. I love this. I love this lyric. I have a feeling that this band is really going to have this generational thing too, where like there's kids that are in high school and then their parents who are in their 40s, and they're going to bond over their mutual love of this band. But maybe I'm just giving them too much props, but I think that they could have a huge career. Okay, so it goes, Pool House, Could Be Love, and it's thank God I'm a loser. I never had a chance, so I'll never have to lose her. Too bad she's a weirdo. My friends all know I'm really into weird, though.
Yeah, those are great lyrics.
I have to call myself the winner. I'm just so passionate about this band. Can you tell?
No, I love it. I love it so much. And your lyrics are more fun than mine. And the song starts out with a more fun beat. So that's a great way to end this episode.
And I will say, though, you had a really great lyric. And I agree that brand new songs are very smart and they're very thoughtful and they have a lot of depth to them. And I think now is it's a great time to go rediscover brand new. And if you have the chance to go see this tour, I would say that both of us recommend it, because it was a music lover's show for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah. I'm thinking new music will be out soon too.
If we're lucky.
We'll gotta wait on that. If we're lucky, and we were lucky to hear mixtape.
We were.
Call back.
If we're lucky. Okay, well, happy Wednesday. Like, listen, subscribe, all those things that we're so good at mentioning on here.
Yeah.
What
Follow
about
us on
following us?
Instagram and TikTok at the Emo Hour and tune in next week. But here, since Nani chose her own lyric, Could Be Love by Pool House, Rachel's version, you get a little taste of it.
So good. It's just so good.
Thank God I'm a loser. I'll never have a chance, so I'll never have to lose her. Too bad she's a weirdo. The friends all know I'm really in a weird mood.
It's so good.
Do it. Thank God I'm a loser. I'll never have a chance, so I'll never have to lose her. Too bad she's a weirdo. My friends all know I'm really in a weird mood.
All right. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.